This is episode number 3 of Knights of the Last Stage, and I'm going to be mobile today, so I don't have any lights set up. I don't have a professional mic set up. I'm going to be walking, and the first month of this program, I just really wanted to lay a foundation. There's a lot of things missing in the way of excitement or activity or movement that are going to come later. But I really felt like the first month just needs to be dedicated to sort of establishing what this is all about. And so this month I call the baseline 40, because there's going to be 40 questions that we're going to answer to take inventory of where we are in our lives right now. You don't really know how far you've come unless you start somewhere and establish a baseline. There's been many projects I've done as a general contractor over the years where we do fix and flips or new constructions. And the new construction is a little bit different because you start from a blueprint, but with a fix and flip, like the house I'm in right now, people see the way that it is, and you tell them you just completely remodeled and updated the house, and they're like, oh great. You know, they don't know if that means you painted the walls in one bedroom or whether you stripped the place down to the studs and redid everything. So before and after pictures in that case proved to be very, very important, and so to speak, this is going to be our before and after. Now, the thing that's most important in what we're doing today, it goes back to the 2 H words that are the foundation for any truth. Hold on. All right. What? Oh my goodness, she changed her mind. Anyways, the foundation of any truth is honesty and humility. So today I'm going to ask you to be, and myself as well, to be very honest and to be very humble. And that's the way we're going to establish where we are right now. And it may not be pleasant. I mean, these 40 questions are going to cover the full gambit of who we are in the mirror right now. It's going to cover body, soul, and spirit. And some of us are going to be like, I'm okay, you know, not too bad. And others of us are going to be, I'm a disaster, either in one of the categories or all the categories. So I say lay it all out on the line. And part of this is going to be taking pictures, and I'll go over that in a minute. Don't worry about showing those now. We're going to show those at the end when we have something to show triumph and growth in. At least I'm not. I can only get better. Fight these wolves now. So the first category is body. And, you know, the body is what carries around our soul and our spirit to get us from one place to another. It's very vital, and as a knight, you've got to be physically capable. I mean, I would ask you right now, if there was a situation that came up, would you be physically capable of saving a life? You know, I watch Instagram videos, and some of them are about heroism, and you see people that are in a situation where someone's life is in jeopardy, whether it's through like a drowning or a physical attack by an animal or a human being. And the men that step up and save the life of the individual have to exercise courage, which is a different category for us, but they also have to be physically capable to do what's required. So I say, you know, are you in that place where you're physically capable? And it doesn't matter what your age is. If you're young or you're old, you can always become more physically capable. And these are the things that we're going to address right now. So, you know, I've got a form for every category that we're going to be dealing with, and this one is about the body, and it's going to require that we put down things like height and weight, measurements, how many push-ups and sit-ups you can do, how you know, go to the local high school or middle school and have somebody time you or time yourself. How fast can you run the 100-yard dash? How far can you jog without collapsing? How far can you walk without getting really winded? Do you eat a healthy diet? Tell a little bit about that. Do you eat out a lot? Do you eat a lot of fast food, smoke, drink, or drugs? And be as accurate as you can. I mean, if you drink, what does that look like? I mean, are you a raging alcoholic, or do you drink one drink a week, or just whatever? I know there's people out there that are brilliant, and this is something new that I've seen. I don't drink at all, for the record, none. I feel like it weakens me. I don't mean just physically, but I mean spiritually, with my confidence, intellectually. You know, it's horrible for the brain, and emotionally it sort of throws you off. I don't see any use for it. I see no use for it, but that's another subject that we'll get into. But there's some of the most brilliant people on earth that say, I don't touch a drop of alcohol, and that's perfectly fine. It used to be that, you know, you were considered some kind of prude if you didn't drink. Now you're just considered intelligent, for good reason. So, you know, do you take drugs? And that's just not illegal drugs. There's prescription drugs where people are drug addicts. And I've had people in my life that I know very well that through physical malady or whatever became addicted to opiates. And I've known heroin addicts and I've known opiate addicts. There's not a whole lot of difference in some cases. So again, as honest as you want to be, that's what you're going to get out of this. That's what I'm going to get out of it. So I'm going to try to be very honest, even painfully honest. And then the photos, what's your typical wardrobe? And what that means is, you know, if I'm just out for something casual, what does it look like? If I'm going out to meet somebody maybe, and I want to dress up just a little bit, you know, semi-casual, what's that look like? And if I want to dress up for a dinner engagement or a business meeting or something like that, what's that look like? So what we're going to do is take pictures of what we look like in a typical depiction of those three categories with posture. How do you stand? How do you wear those clothes? How do they fit on you? How do you move yourself around? And that's going to tell us a lot about where we are right now. And then photos of our bodies. It's going to sound a little bit strange, but not really. I mean, if you have a swimming suit or short shorts, if you have longer shorts, just push them up so you can see your thighs, and take pictures of yourself. 4 sides, front, right, back, left. Let's see where we're at. Let's see what we look like. Let's see what other people see when they look at us, not when we're sucking in our gut and holding our shoulders back in front of the mirror in the morning to try to gain a little bit of confidence to go out. But have somebody that you trust and that you care about, or get a tripod and take pictures of yourself where you're at right now, and don't suck it in. Don't push it out as far as your gut, but don't suck it in. Just, where am I right now? And then the last is a photo close-ups of our face, left, front, and right. There is a demeanor that a man carries, his resting face, you'd say. And what does that look like right now? Do I look depressed and beaten down? Do I look cocky and prideful and arrogant? Do I look, what's the countenance that I have? And also do that with a smile. Put forth a smile that you would normally present to the world. You know, what does my face look like resting? What does it look like when I'm smiling? And catch that from the 3 sides. This is the baseline of our body. That aspect of us that is the physical part of us. And let's capture the essence of what that is now, so we can contrast that 12 months from now. Next is our soul. That's our mind, will, and emotions. It's how we think. What goes on up here? And the question is, what do you let enter your eye gate and your ear gate? What's getting in? I mean, if you were blind and deaf, you wouldn't have a lot of external stimulus, and when we get into the spiritual aspects, you'd have a lot of silence and solitude, which is beneficial, but it's such a blessing to be able to see and experience things, to be able to hear things. But whether it's beneficial or detrimental determines on what we're allowing to get in. So what do we allow, and what are we intentionally having enter us? And are we learning, or are we deteriorating our intellect? This is has incredible sway over our emotions. And here's where we find one of our biggest time sinks. I remember when my son was a young teenager, and he was very much captivated by a game. I think it was called RuneScape. And at the end of this spell of of playing this a lot, he inventoried a week to determine how much time he had invested into RuneScape, and added up all the hours. And if I recollect correctly, he said he almost threw up. It was so much time. And he determined that he was either cutting it off completely or greatly cutting down the amount of time that he would allow himself to participate in something like that, which I admire him for that at such a young age. But things get away from us. And it's like, whether it's a television or whether it's social media or whatever, we are letting so much of that in that we don't even realize. So what we're going to do right now in the realm of the soul is we're going to inventory time and see where we're at with that. And if you look at the most brilliant thinkers and the most accomplished people, they have habits that they follow. And a lot of times they have to do with the realm of the soul, but they're extremely disciplined as far as what they allow in and what they don't allow in. So within the baseline 40 inventory in the realm of the soul, and I'll try to put, all these will be in the description, that you can hopefully download them or print them and customize them, do whatever you want to take your own inventory. These 40 things are things that I felt were real important for me to take a look at who I am right now. So we've got books read, how many per month, TV watched, how many hours a day, screen time on your phone, how many hours a day, social media hours in a day, video games hours in a day, learning, and this could be through books, it could be through seminars, it could be through even the YouTube University, where you can learn so much and where I've learned so much. Mental games, whether they be puzzles. I like the mental puzzles that sometimes take you hours or days or weeks or months to figure out. I like games like Sherlock Holmes mysteries, where you have to try to solve them. And my son-in-law is real good about coming up with games that are very cerebral and make you think. And even something like chess, one of the perhaps kings of mental games. I play chess all the time on my phone through an app that I have where I can play against the computer. And I find it very challenging and very rewarding. Also quality conversations. So if you look in the old days, the greatest thing people did and that they look forward to is having guests in their home that they could sit down and have a conversation with. And that was extremely intellectually and emotionally stimulating. And then we go to the negative, profanity. What is the use and number of uses per day? And I would be explicit here. You could just put F, S, D, variations of such, or the worst, which would be using God's name in vain. What do I say, and how many times do I say it in the course of a day or a week? Just try to average these things out. Like if you skip a day, but the next day you say 10 words you shouldn't, then that's 5 per day, kind of a thing. Pornography, one of the worst destroyers of man in the world. if not the worst destroyer. And down the road, we're going to have a whole episode on that and the evils of that and how to break the back of that, because it doesn't need to be in any man's life. There is no positive benefit whatsoever. It's chains and it's bondage. So how many hours a day on that? And that's the soul. So next, let's move over to the spirit. Oh, by the way, the next move is yours. Next is the spirit. This is where it's all at. This is that part of us that communes with God Almighty. And if you get this right, everything else falls into place. The list is extensive, but that's because there's so many components to being spiritually strong. And you'll find that a lot of the things that I've listed are the disciplines of the faith. And we'll probably do a whole series on the disciplines of the faith, because it's probably the most important thing that, or should be the most important thing in a man's life, is to maintain these things. And certainly in the endeavor of becoming a modern day knight in this last stage, we have to have the disciplines right. So as far as the spirit, we've got Bible reading, and most of these are time per day or per week. Bible study, Bible memorization, prayer, fasting, generosity, solitude, fellowship, simplicity, gratitude, celebration, and that would be events, confession, worship, evangelism, rest, service, purity, and disciple making. These are the things that we're going to inventory from a spiritual standpoint to see where we are. And if you're like many people and you say, I don't even know the implication of most of those words. Sure, I know what Bible reading and prayer are, but what's all that other stuff? Well, that's basically the core of most of what we're going to be learning together. So don't be discouraged by that. That's something that we'll be tackling as time moves forward. And you know, what's on the table that you sit at? Every morning my wife and I sit in these chairs, and we're either looking outside behind us, looking at the birds, because we put bird seed on the rails and the birds and the squirrels come out. Or we'll turn around the other way and we'll sit at a fire if it's a winter like it is now and it's cold out. And we have the things that are most important to us here, which is the Bible, devotionals, study books, mainly the Word of God. And in my office, I have a couch where I spend time praying and listening to worship and listening to the Bible. I love the audio Bible, and when I'm traveling in the car, oftentimes we'll put on podcasts about spiritual things and just continue to learn and fill my spirit. So the spiritual aspect of man, of the three, is most important. In closing, put the time into inventorying yourself. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be as accurate as I possibly can and pour everything into this time of establishing a baseline so we can rejoice as we move forward. And I'm going to redo all this in 12 months, but you know, you may say, I want to see how I'm doing. I want to redo this in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. So join me in this. Move forward with this inventory with all seriousness and be as humble and as honest as you can possibly be. And let's see where we go from here. So that's all this time. And I pray you Godspeed. Keep the faith.